If he had not decided to do so, presumably and his ministry would have amounted to nothing. The Lord's good hand upon him, Ezra was set up for vast influence and wide effectiveness. And it's remarkable, isn't it, what the Lord does for Ezra here. He gives him incredible favor with King Artaxerxes of Persia. It wasn't...
Yeah, how can the sending church really achieve long-term mission success? It really has to do...
お祈りお願いします。今からジムに行きます。今日はすごく寒いです。みんなと楽しいレッスンをすることを願っています。雨が降ってますが、スリップしないように、今日も事故がないように十分気をつけて行動したいと思っています。また主イエス・キリスト見守ってください。アメン。
That's the thing.
Brian, this is, of course, a show about how we can steward God's financial resources in a way that brings Him glory. And often these trips involve fundraising. How can that, in and of itself, be an experience between us and the Lord as we seek to raise funds?
Well, that's a really great question. You know, when I talk to people who are going on short-term trips, and particularly young people, I'm a professor at Covenant College. When I talk to young people and I say to them, go as a learner, go to listen and to learn, suddenly the young person will go, well, I can't raise money for that. They want me to go and do something.
Yeah.
Well, that's at the heart of the problem, right? And so the financial supporter is often expecting some kind of tangible accomplishment, and it puts a lot of pressure on the young person to go and produce something, and that does a lot of harm. And so I'm often saying to that young person, go as a learner and communicate to your financial supporters that you're going as a learner. And oftentimes what happens is the young person says, I don't feel right about raising money to go for my personal educational experience. And I don't agree with that. I actually think that it's worth it. It's worth investing in young people to go. There can be a really high return if the trip is embedded in a longer term learning process. But we need to be clear as to what we're doing, what the purpose is, so that we can steward God's resources well. It is my view that too much money is being spent on short-term trips, that we could probably steward our resources in other ways. But I do believe there is a role for such trips when done well.
Well, I think you've made that case today, and I'm excited for more churches to pick up a copy of this to help shape their short-term missions to have a lasting impact both here and in the host countries. Brian, we always appreciate our time with you. Thanks for stopping by.
It's always a joy to be with you folks.
That's Dr. Brian Fikkert, co-author of Helping Without Hurting in Short-Term Missions. You can learn more about his work at chalmers.org. Your calls are next, 800-525-7000. Stick around.
The loss of a child through abortion, miscarriage, or stillbirth affects the emotional health of families. Feelings of anger, sadness, and regret can be overwhelming. There is hope and healing in the aftermath of a reproductive loss. Call the International Helpline at 866-482-LIFE to talk with someone who has been where you are and healed to help others. Your call is confidential. 866-482-LIFE.
Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime, choose your own provider, and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/faithfi.
Some would say truth is relative, and to the world, that's right. What what the world considers to be truth fluctuates depending on the narrative they're trying to promote. Of course, we know truth is found in Scripture, and it never changes. The documentary, The God Who Speaks, proves the Bible's reliability as the source of real truth and reinforces our belief in it as our firm foundation. Watch it anytime at stream.afa.net. That's stream.afa.net.
We're grateful for support from Eventide Investments on the Faith and Finance program. Eventide's approach to values-based investing is grounded in the belief that humankind was created in the image of God, with intrinsic dignity, value, and worth. Eventide calls this investing that makes the world rejoice. More information is available at eventideinvestments.com. That's eventideinvestments.com.
For over 40 years, American Family Association has stood for righteousness and God's truth in our nation.
American Family Association Executive Vice President Ed Vitagliano.
One important way you can join us in the battle is through a charitable gift annuity with the AFA Foundation. The charitable gift annuity benefits you, and it benefits the culture-transforming work of American Family Association.
Phone 800-326-4543, extension 345.
As the leading advocate for the Christian financial industry, Kingdom Advisors serves the public by promoting the integration of a biblical worldview across every aspect of the financial services industry. And we serve a growing network of thousands of Christian financial professionals, equipping and empowering them to carry biblical financial wisdom to their clients, peers, and community. For more information, visit kingdomadvisors.com. That's kingdomadvisors.com.
To have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. We're looking forward to taking your calls today at 800-525-7000. Again, that number 800-525-7000. I'm sure there's some things going on in your financial life that you'd love to talk about today. I know I always have questions I'm wrestling with, and it's always helpful to have somebody to bounce those ideas off of. Well, here's our promise to you. We're going to be encouraging and empathetic. We're going to be hopeful. We're going to be biblical, because we're going to go into God's Word and look for principles and themes and ideas that we can pull out. But we're also going to be wise and practical, helping you solve for those very specific things that you're wrestling with in your financial life. So if you have a question today, this is your hour. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to take as many calls as we can. We've got lines open, and so go ahead and call right now and get in the mix. The number, 800-525-7000. Again, that's 800-525-7000. You can call right now. Before we dive into those phone calls today, let's see what's happening in the news. Well, the IRS has announced updated contribution limits for health savings accounts, what are known as HSAs, for 2026. Individuals with self-only coverage can contribute up to $4,400. That's up from $4,300 this year, 2025. While those with family coverage can now save $8,750. That's up from $8,550, so $200 higher. To qualify, you of course have to have that high deductible health plan with minimum deductibles of $1,700 for an individual or $3,400 for a family, and annual out-of-pocket limits no greater than $8,500 or $17,000 respectively. The HSA, if you're not familiar with it, offers what we call the triple tax advantage. So you get the contribution on the you get the tax deduction on the contribution. That's advantage number one. Then you get tax-free growth on that money, so you can actually invest it and allow it to grow tax-free. And then the withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are also tax-free. So 3 advantages. Now, unlike FSAs, the flexible savings accounts, unused HSA funds roll over annually and remain with you even if you change jobs or retire. These features make HSAs a powerful tool for retirement healthcare planning, especially considering that a 65-year-old today may spend an average of $165,000 on medical costs during retirement. That's not annual, of course. And that doesn't include long-term care. Now, though most employers offer HSA investment options, only about 18% of participants invest their balances. Financial advisors recommend investing HSA funds to maximize long-term growth and prepare for future medical needs. That's, of course, how you take advantage of the triple advantage. Again, contributions going in, tax deduction. Growth on the money when it's invested, tax-free. Withdrawals, also tax-free when it comes out. Just a huge advantage there. I don't want you to miss that. Contributions for the 2026 tax year can be made up to April 2027. So I know this is a little ahead of the game, but just for your planning purposes, this is what's coming. Now, I will say just a kind of a personal note on this. We use the HSA here at Kingdom Advisors and Faith 5 for our team. And we actually see enough savings in the premiums that we're able to contribute up to almost that full deduction just as a contribution for our employees. And so they get kind of the double win there. We're saving money. We're also helping them shoulder that out-of-pocket cost up to that high deductible by making direct contributions for them. And then if they're relatively healthy and they can maximize their contributions on their end, which again gives them a deduction, that's money that can be invested. And that's really where an HSA shines. If you're relatively healthy and you can max it out and not use it all and just let it grow, having that alongside your other retirement accounts in retirement is a huge benefit, because again, you can pull that money out tax-free for those qualified medical expenses. So if this is a new idea, take a look at the health savings account. It can be a really powerful tool. All right, we're ready to dive into your questions today. Again, that number, 800-525-7000. You can call right now with any financial question, 800-525-7000. Let's head to Texas. Jose, how can I serve you?
Hey, good morning, Ron. Thank you for what you do, sir.
Thank you.
My question is, I was listening to the news last night, and they were talking about some difficulties some families are having with probate because they didn't have a will. So my question actually is, what's the difference between a will, an irrevocable trust, and a revocable trust, and what are the tax benefits to that?
Yeah, got it. So basically, I mean, the breakdown is this. A will is a legal document that specifies how your assets are distributed at your death, and you name an executor to carry it out. Generally it costs between $200 and $500, and there are some do-it-yourself options, although I would recommend you use an attorney. You will have court costs, what's called probate, and that can run somewhere between 3 to 7% of the estate value. So for a $100,000 estate, it can run, $3,000 to $7,000, and it can take, as much as 6 to 12 months. Now, if it's a fairly simple estate, it may not take that long. But the assets pass directly to the heirs, but the probate is public and it can be contested. There really are no tax advantages to a will, but keep in mind where estate taxes are right now federally, they don't kick in until you get an estate above $13 million. So for most people, that's not even an issue. So that's the will. Now, let's talk about the revocable trust. A trust you create and control during your lifetime, and it holds your assets in it, like real estate or investments. Because it's revocable, we'll get to the irrevocable in a minute. With the revocable trust, you can modify it or revoke it at any time, and then after death, assets transfer to beneficiaries outside of probate. So there's no probate court involved. The financial aspects are, it's more expensive. It can run you $2,000 to $3,000 on average with an attorney. But again, it avoids probate, it saves the probate court costs, and it speeds up distributions. It also allows the trustee to manage those assets if you're incapacitated prior to death or beyond your life if you want to let that money be distributed over time. Let's do this. I've got to take a break. When we come back, we'll finish this question up. Stay right there.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by certified Kingdom advisor Kevin Bruce with Aligned Investment Research, helping families in Collin County honor God by managing wealth with wisdom and purpose. Learn more at align7.com. That's align7.com. Or through Kevin's office at 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
I was taken under my wing. They did everything necessary for him to know him and follow him and they went their way. I think for nations, for individuals, there is a day that you have to make the decision to respond to the Lord, and it might be that the opportunity after that shows.
Exploring the Word weekdays 3 p.m. Central on AFR.
Feeling burdened by credit card debt? As faithful stewards, we are called to manage our finances wisely. Christian credit counselors can help with a debt management program that allows you to pay off debt up to 80% faster, while honoring your commitments with integrity. Don't let debt hold you back from the life God has planned for you. Take the first step toward peace and financial freedom today. Visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org. That's ChristianCreditCounselors.org.
What's most important to you when it comes to choosing your financial advisor? Someone who's aligned with your biblical values? How about someone who will take the time to explain your options? Certified Kingdom Advisors are professionals who meet high standards in competence and integrity and have been trained to offer biblical financial advice. To find a Certified Kingdom Advisor in your area, visit faithfi.com and click Find a CKA.
The American Family Association's mission is to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. Our goal is to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. We believe true morality flows from biblical principles and directs people to the manner in which God intends them to live.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values.
Faith and Finance is grateful for support from Sound Mind Investing. If you have money in an investment account, you know sometimes the stock market can seem like a roller coaster. But it's possible to enjoy both profit and peace of mind as a do-it-yourself investor, no matter what's happening in the market. A short video webinar about that is available at soundmindinvesting.org. Financial wisdom for living well. soundmindinvesting.org.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today on anything financial. You have financial questions? We've got answers. You can call right now, 800-525-7000. Again, that number, 800-525-7000. Jose's calling from Texas before the break. He's asking about the differences and the tax benefits of the will versus the revocable and the irrevocable trust. And Jose, I was sharing that a will basically handles the distribution of your assets, really no direct tax savings, although most people don't have federal estate taxes, at least based on the current law and IRS regs, because you have to get over $13 million before you have any federal estate taxes. Revocable trust allows you to control your assets during your lifetime and beyond. You have to retitle your assets in the name of the trust, more expensive to set up, but you don't have the probate costs and you avoid probate after death. Also, you can have the trustee manage the assets if you're incapacitated, or let's say you wanted to give those assets out over time beyond your life because you had minor kids. You want to wait till they graduate from college or get married or certain triggering events. A trust would allow you to do that. There's also no direct tax breaks, so assets remain in your taxable estate. But again, to my point earlier, with the way it's set up now, having to be over 13.6 million, usually not an issue. The main difference with the irrevocable trust is that you can't modify it or revoke it once it's created. The assets are legally owned by the trust, not you, and managed by the trustee for the beneficiaries. That gets it out of your estate, which could offer significant tax benefits because it's removed from your taxable estate. You no longer own it. But again, that may not be an issue, and it isn't for most people. And so giving up that flexibility of being able to change it is something you need to make sure that that's worth it, because again, most people don't need that. Is that helpful though?
Yes, thank you so much, and I appreciate all you do for us.
All right, thanks, Jose. Call anytime, sir. God bless you. Let's stay in Texas and talk to Liz. Liz, how can we help?
Hi, good morning, Rob. My husband and I have a inherited IRA that he received from his mom, and we've had it in the last 5 years in a annuity, and that is just matured. And what is the best way to go from here?
Yeah, that's a good question. How does this inherited IRA fit in, Liz, to your overall financial plan, just in terms of the other assets that you have? I mean, do you feel like you're on track and saving for retirement apart from this, or is this a key piece of that?
It is a big part of our
retirement plan.
Retirement plan. We're both in our late 60s.
Okay. All right. Yeah, very good. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We're both still working full time right now, but this is like a big part of our goals.
Yes. Yeah, very good. Yeah, so because you're no longer going to have, or likely not have, any surrender charges, you have flexibilities there. Are you under the post 2020 Secure Act, where you've got to have this money completely distributed from the IRA, inherited IRA, within 10 years?
We got this in 2020. I'm not sure what month. I can't remember what month.
Okay, got it. So you're going to want to check on that for the new rules on the 10 years go into effect, just because you don't want to miss that. If you need to deplete it in 10 years, that's going to factor into this. But the Secure Act that was passed in December 2019 went into effect January 1st of 2020. Introduced that 10-year rule for IRAs. So for most non-spouse beneficiaries, and that's what this was, if the original IRA owner died on or after January 1st, 2020, you have to withdraw the entire inherited IRA by December 31st of the 10th year following their death.
Okay.
So if that's the case here, then you're going to need to get it out of there anyway. So we'll need to look at options. But how long ago was that? So that was, it's been 5 years?
She passed away in August of 2019.
Oh, okay.
So this was distributed in 2020, though.
Okay. Yeah, but her passing was in 2019, so she would be prior to that, because it didn't go into effect until January 1st of 2020. So it probably allows you to do what's called a stretch IRA. You're going to want to check with your CPA on this, but that allows you to take distributions over your life expectancy. So you'll want to talk to the custodian of this IRA contract to review the distribution methods, and you could, annuitize this and start taking an income. You could also look at rolling this out and just having it invested. I think a lot of that is just going to come down to how much risk do you want to take. Keep in mind, even in your late 60s, with you all continuing to work and this money ultimately being a big part of your retirement plan, you still have arguably a 30-year time horizon. I mean, if you live well into your 90s, you need this money to last a long time. So we can still take a long-term perspective on the investments. That doesn't mean we throw caution to the wind and we get too aggressive, but it does mean, I think, that you could look at the option to, invest it with a portion allocated to stocks. I mean, I'd put it as much as 40%, even at age 70, in stocks, maybe with 60% in a fixed income, and maybe a small part of that's in gold or precious metals, something like that. But the idea would be that it's growing, it's still fairly stable, but it has a growth component to it. And then, when you all need that, or you begin to take an income off of it because you're no longer working, you've got the ability to offset maybe a 4% withdrawal rate per year, where you're never depleting any of the principal. So I think your next step is to confirm kind of what that the withdrawal rate needs to be to comply with the IRS to make sure you're getting out what you need to get out in whatever time period is required. And then secondly, do you want to roll it over to another annuity, which is going to transfer the risk to the insurance company and away from the stock market, but you're going to settle for lower returns with some complexity where you don't have as much access to the money? Or do you want to hire an advisor and maybe roll the inherited IRA out of the annuity company over to an advisor that could manage it and, address the risk component by, using more conservative investments like bonds? But the upside is you could get a little more growth on it, and you'd have access to the money if you guys ever needed it. Whereas, you don't have some of those lockups or penalties with the annuity products. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes, they're very good. I appreciate that. It's just when you're not used to having an inheritance like that, and then you do have it, you want to manage it well.
Yeah, I totally get it. If you need an advisor, do you have an advisor you could, other than the annuity salesperson?
No, I was looking for one through FaithFi in our area here in Katy, Texas.
Yeah, cool. So you could just head to faithfi.com, click find a professional. I'd interview probably at least 2 CKs, find the one that's the best fit, but I think that could be a great next step for you. And again, I'm not saying you can't continue to use annuities if you're most comfortable with that, but I'd at least explore your options, moving forward. But if we can help you, Liz, in any way along the way, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for being on the program today. All right, another break, and then back with our final segment. If you have a question, call 800-525-7000.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by certified Kingdom advisor Kevin Bruce with Align Investment Research, helping families across Collin County honor God by stewarding wealth with wisdom and purpose. Because true peace of mind comes from aligning wealth with God's design. Learn more at align7.com or call 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
Drama playing out. Is the sky falling? Are we going into recession? Are you going to lose all of your 401k? Are you going to lose your job? Are you going to be able to afford groceries?
People better be training their kids, get back into church, Sunday school, reading the Bible. That revolution will save this country.
We've had a political revolution. Now we need a spiritual revolution.
Sandy Rios on Sandy Rios 24/7. Listen on the podcast page at afr.net.
We're grateful for support from Guidestone, whose diversified suite of investment solutions align with Christian values to create positive change in the world. More information is available at guidestonefunds.com/faith. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of Guidestone Funds before investing. They're distributed by Foresight Funds Distributors, LLC, which is not an advisory affiliate, a registered investment advisor, nor do they provide investment advice.
Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Today, putting your heart into something that makes an eternal impact. Heart for Lebanon is sharing the gospel and protecting girls from early marriage, child labor, and violence. Your gift of $114 helps reach 3 at-risk girls with hope and a brighter future. Give generously. Text FAITH to 98656. That's FAITH to 98656. Or visit faithfi.com/Lebanon.
Hey, great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio, helping you see God as your ultimate treasure and manage God's money as a tool to accomplish His purposes. Before we head right back to the phones, and we will get to as many questions as we can this segment, so if you have a financial question, call right now, 800-525-7000. We just got our first delivery of Faithful Steward Issue 2 today. Boy, I'm so excited to put it in your hands. It is chock full of some incredible content that I think is just going to be a real treat for you in your financial life. Where is true wisdom found? Is it okay to leave different amounts to my kids? From Ron Blue. What if you're the non-financial spouse? You're not money-minded. Do you get left behind? Well, Shanti Feldhahn has an article talking to both spouses about how we keep the non-financial spouse in the mix with regard to the money conversation. crafting a faithful legacy for future generations with an intentional inheritance, how Christians should respond when someone owes them money, finding an uncommon retirement based on biblical wisdom. That's just half of the articles in this latest issue of Faithful Steward. If you'd like to receive a copy, the best way to do that is to become a Faith by partner. That means you'll get 4 issues of Faithful Steward every year, and you'll get pre-release copies of our studies and devotionals. And our next study is dropping this month, Wisdom Over Wealth, 12 Lessons on Money from the book of Ecclesiastes.